I have been struggling, and there's been a lot of transition in my life recently. And this has all been since after Father's Day. So Father's Day was June 17th. I have recorded one podcast since then. But hey, I want to talk to you today about some struggles, like what I'm going through, not because it's about me, but because it's about you, because maybe it can help you. And so I have had one just minor transition but it's been kind of big as I moved apartments after being in the same apartment for almost 9 years. So since my divorce, I have not had my daughter this summer, and I had worked through some relationship stuff. So I had a relationship I had hoped for that's kind of not moving forward the way I would have hoped. And I don't know what the future holds for anything really, honestly, like in my life, but I mean, I know there are good things ahead, and I know that there are ways that people can find clarity in their life and they're going through the same journey I'm going through, trying to figure out what's next and try to figure out some clarity. So I've been stepping back, doing some self-reflection, doing some talking, maybe not as much as I should be to friends, but I'm just going through some stuff right here. And so today on the Decide Your Legacy podcast, what I'm going to do is walk you through 4 clarifying questions that are helping me. I'm going to share why these are really great questions to ask yourself, why I ask them to clients, and how you can use them to process your own experience and find clarity in your life as well. I'm going to describe why they're the right questions to ask yourself and to journal on, and why they work if you take the time to be honest with yourself. So welcome to the Decide Your Legacy podcast. This is episode number 202, and we've had some breakthroughs in the podcast since I actually have recorded an episode. I mean, we're breaking a lot of records. I mean, we got to 200. We got to over 50,000 downloads, which for a little small local inky-dinky thing, that's kind of a cool thing. So there's some stuff going on. I mean, there's a lot of really good things with Decide Your Legacy. And as I refer to DYL, that's Decide Your Legacy. So I'm going to walk you through these questions. So this is a podcast where you are going to get challenged to grow and to take action. And so I founded Decide Your Legacy, really co-founded it in 2012. And to be frank, we're on our 14th year. Our purpose is to help people to find clarity, to make long-term change, to face the stuff that's holding them back, to take action, to move forward. And we help leaders and their teams face the core issues holding them back. We help people face the core issues holding them back so they can make long-term change. But crazy part about it is I can't help my freaking self. And I've really struggled with that. I was with a couple friends on Tuesday, and I was sharing this struggle, like what is next? And one of my friends, he said, dude, Adam, you got to stop getting your identity from things external to you. Relationships, like from your daughter, from your ex-wife, from your parents, from your success, from your business, from people. You can't get your identity from those things. It has to come from within. I mean, and as he talked, he says it has to come from the fact that God made you and loves you and wants you to succeed. You got to figure that out. And so I'm committed to these buddies. I'm going to try and figure that out with you today and share my own journey that could be helpful to you as we process it, because it's friends. I can't do it without community. I mean, I cannot do it alone. I try to a lot. I try to do my own thing, and I go to the same place that I've always been. So I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to try my best to be honest with you. So 4 questions that will give you clarity on your journey. And what I like to, and just kind of going back to the roots of this podcast, my challenge to myself is to explain things in a way that you could explain them to your 6-year-old child, and they would be able to understand this. So you could take this information and you could share it. And also that it doesn't have to be perfect. My goal today is not to communicate in a perfect way, but to be honest with you and to share it in an open way where you can apply the content to your own life. So as we go through these 4 questions, my challenge is for you to decide on one that you're going to start with on your own. And you're going to use that on your own journey. And when I visit with potential people that DYL might do coaching with, these are the same types of questions we ask them to see if they're a fit. But my buddy Doug said, well, what would you do to help a client? That's one of the friends. I was talking to Doug and Kendall and Dan and Jason and just some buddies, and they were just challenging me with these. And one of them said, Doug, he said, like, well, what would you do to help a client? And I said, well, I would ask them a bunch of questions, and I would dig deep. What would you do to help a client who was struggling with the same stuff you're struggling with now, Adam, was his specific question. And I said, I would ask them questions, open-ended questions. I'd get really curious with them, and we'd go deep. And then they would get clarity in the process. So those are the questions I'm going to be giving to you today. So put your seatbelt on. We're going to take off. It's going to go on a little adventure here. And a little bit about questions is if we're not willing to be open to other people asking us questions, that's going to hold us back in our own growth. If we get defensive when people ask us questions, which was one of the main reasons that I had a relationship setback, is because I didn't feel like there was openness for me to ask any kind of question. I mean, that was legit. And that was part of the challenge. And that gave me insight into this relationship. And so it's not moving forward right now. I mean, maybe it will, but that when you have friendships and relationships professionally and they get defensive, or if you're a leader and you're not open to other people asking you questions, I like to believe that nothing is off limits. Nothing is off limits. I mean, because you want to grow. You want to be a better person. That's what I'm attracted to in other people. Like Troy. I'm attracted to Troy in a healthy way because he wants to grow. I see him trying to challenge himself, and I see him trying to improve as a dad and as a husband. I see a lot of people around me like that, and that's who I want to surround myself with, although I don't want to surround myself with those people too, if you know what I mean, because they challenge me. It's like, I don't want to, but I want to. So anyway, you can see 7-Up bottles behind me. That is because one of the core values of Decide Your Legacy is on a scale 1 to 10, it's okay to be a 7. We don't want perfection. So the first question is this. So what are times, love this question, man. I mean, I've been asking this for a decade. What are times in your life, past or present, recent or a long time ago, when you have felt most fulfilled? What are those times, and how could you create more of those moments in your life today? The reason this question works really well is because it gets you to go back and figure out what energized you. It gets you to focus on how you could reproduce that in the future, and it gets you tapped into the present as well. I'm not going to answer it for you, so I'm going to repeat it again. What are times in your life, past or present, when you felt most fulfilled? There can be multiple. And how could you recreate those moments today? So as I did some journaling and reflecting on this question over the last few days, Doug, here's what my answer is. I feel most fulfilled in my life when I personally feel like a relationship is going deeper, whether that's with a team, whether that's with my family, whether that's with my friends, whether that's with a stranger, when we're actually getting to have a real conversation. And that connects people, and it's real. It's not a counterfeit relationship. It's a real relationship. And I'm not criticizing any of my relationships. I can be a counterfeit. I can foster counterfeit relationships. I mean, I can create this crap. I feel like I'm as much to blame in my relationship life challenges as people that I might reference subtly in this podcast. So I hope that comes out. I really do. And so for me, that answer to that question is like building a team. I brought two of the people on my team. There's 3 of us on our core leadership team at Decide Your Legacy. It's Kelsey, Nick, and Adam. That's me right here. Okay. So I brought them to the Global Leadership Summit, which is this really cool conference that happens every year. And we went as a team. And it was kind of a last minute thing. Hey, you guys want to go? Let's do this. Let's go on. Let's do it. But that felt very fulfilling because we listened to these great, really cool speakers, and we were able to process through the content. And I'm very grateful for that, man. And I've looked at my notes so many times. But I had fulfilling experiences just recently. I had an ownership team at my office, and they faced a core issue. It was this artificial harmony that had been going on amongst these owners, and they actually brought out the real issue on their minds, and people were honest about it. And I'm so excited for this team because of where it's going to actually go. And even just yesterday, Kelsey and I were in with a core leadership team of a company, and I have them rate the usefulness of the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10 at the very end of the meeting. And the overall rating was like an 8.7. There were times during that meeting when I thought it was going to all fall apart. There were times in that meeting where I felt incompetent and like an imposter. There were times in that meeting where I was insecure, but I knew that my mantra is I don't have to feel confident to be confident. I just have to do the next right thing and to push forward. But when I left that meeting, I was freaking energized, because when I know that this business is going to take action, and I got the sense that they're going to take action and apply what they discussed during that meeting, that fires me up. And I want more of that. Even though when I went into this 3-hour meeting, because when we meet with these teams, we meet with them for, it's basically a half day that they're giving up once per month to actually engage the core stuff and to make progress. That I know going into it, I'm not always feeling confident. I'm just not. But I can look at these things, and there's other variations of this question. I mean, you can create your own variation if you want, but that's question one. And so there have been numerous moments in my life that have energized me. Now I've had a business coach for 4 years. His name's Dan Kreis. Great dude. He asked me this same question again and again, and it really kind of irritates me, but I love him for asking it, because he is a guy in my life that will ask me the hard questions that I don't want to answer. And it's like, I like meeting with Dan, and I don't like meeting with Dan. You guys can get, you understand what I'm saying here. There are a lot of people out there that would say, I do not like Decide Your Legacy, because it makes me uncomfortable. I mean, I don't like meeting with Adam, and that's okay. That really makes me feel good, because if you don't like meeting with me sometimes, that means I'm doing my job. Really. And it means I'm earning my keep. So his question to me is, what would motivate your elephant? Or that is your elephant. He's going to point out, and what he's referencing is something that when I first met with Dan, he referenced this psychological model. He didn't create it, but he brought it to my attention. It actually, the first time I read about it was in a Chip and Dan Heath book called, I forget the name of the book, but it's basically that you have a rider, and then the rider is the rational part of your mind. The elephant is the emotional part of your mind. And then there's a path that the elephant is going down. And basically he's saying, Adam, you have to motivate your elephant. You have to tap into the emotion, find the motivation in this situation to do the next right thing, like to show up. So if I don't want to go to one of these leadership coaching things that Decide Your Legacy does, because I'm feeling insecure, I got to tap into the fact that emotionally I have these experiences that I can reference that are energizing for me and fulfilling, and I can reproduce those today. So even though I don't feel like it, I can still motivate with my rational mind and my emotional self. I can tap into that and say, like, let's do it, man. Let's go. That's what this guy, I have this friend, man. We're celebrating his 50th birthday today, and I love him, and he annoys me. And he says this thing sometimes, says, let's go. And it's like, dude, his name is Jason. So anyway, Jason, happy birthday. He says it, and it's energizing, but it's like, okay, man, like, I don't feel that way right now. I don't feel that way, but he's trying to motivate me, or he's trying to motivate other people in the moment. But we got to find those moments that were really fulfilling. So some other friends over a month ago, I was still freaking struggling a month ago. I'm still struggling. And they asked me to list 10 client successes. And so I went and listed 10 client successes, and that was Luke and Stan and Caleb. And I'd listed them, man. In fact, I listed 17. I went back like 5 years, and that motivated my elephant. It tapped into something in me. So that's question number one. Question number two, I love this just as much. So this one is, it's kind of, it's tapping into something that, it's tapping into potential regret. So the question is if you kept living exactly as you have been living this past year, the last 12 months, what's one thing that you imagine you might regret when you look back at the end of your life? So you play that forward and you say, Adam's 52. He lives the next 40 years of his life doing what he did the last year. What is one regret that I might have at the end of that? Be honest. Be honest with yourself. And the reason that question works is because it taps into the emotion of things you don't want to miss out on. You have this one precious, amazing life to live right now, today. And today is the first day of the rest of your life. The past has already happened. The past is done. The mistakes you've made are done. All you can do is learn from them and find the meaning in them. But the future is ahead. And we don't want to live a life where at the end of our lives, we're looking back and saying, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. You know, my dad he frustrates me, and I love him, and I'm blessed to have him. And sometimes I take it for granted. And one thing about my dad is he does and has asked himself this question. So he made a huge, massive career change, and I would say it was in his 50s, to be honest with you, where he decided that he wasn't going to not take certain risks that he had held back on. And I've never had this blunt conversation with him, but he has referenced that he didn't want to have regret like his dad had when his dad would reference at the end of his life. His dad died when he was in his 60s of colon cancer. My grandfather, who I didn't know very well, I mean, he died when I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. I do remember him, though. And he didn't want to have those times where he said, I should have done this, I should have done that. He remembers his dad saying that kind of stuff. And I don't want that for you. So I want you to think, what would you actually regret? So here's my honest answer. This is silly stuff, but I would regret not doing things that are fun, like playing ping pong and playing pool and playing darts and doing things with my friends where I'm connecting with friends. I don't do that enough in my life. I find that over the last year, I've spent a lot of time doing business stuff where I wanted and my ego was driving it, but I wasn't taking the time to connect with people. I don't want to live with that kind of regret. And I've also done good stuff. I also wrote down that I would regret not being happier. So I had another friend ask me that, like, when are you going to just let yourself be happy? And I appreciate her asking me that. I mean, like, when are you going to let yourself just be happy? I mean, that's a big one, because there's times I don't let myself just be happy. Like, enjoy the fruits in my life. Enjoy the stuff that's going well. Focusing on the good things in my life. I would regret that. If I died today, I would regret that. I would regret also not sharing with people how I feel about them, and not just expressing how I feel and not asking how they feel and tapping into how they feel. So I would regret not being more curious in those interactions that I have in a really genuine way. And I truly would regret times where I've made it over the last year about me and not about actually helping other people, where I've made it about my ego and my image. And that has caused me a lot of anxiety over the last year, because stepping back, it's like I'm doing this thing, but it's really about what other people think about me. Like, I'm living my life to please other people in some ways. Not all of me. I mean, I'm not going to this all or nothing thing. I'm just, as I reflect on this question, I'm able to step back and say, like, that right there was more motivated by ego and not motivated by intuition, by what God has placed in me to do next. And that's a big deal. I don't want to actually have that. So I would regret not reading more fiction, truly, and reading so much stuff that's about business and growth and not just stepping back and having fun. And even answering this question, just the last night, I read 2 short stories from Ernest Hemingway, and I don't even remember their name, but it's part 1 and part 2 of this story about a guy fly fishing. And it was freaking really cool to read. And I had a lot of appreciation by reading that. I don't know much about Ernest Hemingway, but the detail of those short stories was pretty inspiring to me. I thought it would help me get a better night's sleep, which I have struggled with sleep lately. And I do find that when I have a lot of transition going on, I go to bed and I'm just churning and processing. And so I think that had a lot to do with why I struggled with sleep last night. Just being real with you guys. That's my goal here. You got to answer questions honestly. I don't want to share with you that I'm struggling with sleep, but I went ahead and shared that with you. I don't know why, because I'm sure you might be struggling with sleep. But I feel like at times, because I've been there in mental health for so long, that this is the deal that I have. And I know this is my own mindset and thinking, is that if I struggle, I can't really help other people who are struggling. That's a weird thing. Like, total contradictory to this make it a 7 thing that's right behind me. Like, if I struggle, then I go in as a fraud. And because I'm struggling and because I'm doing things that are hiding out, or I'm negative, or I'm not seeing the good in my life, whatever, then that disqualifies me from being able to help other people. I don't believe that, though. In fact, I think it makes it more real for me to actually help other people if I'm being honest with myself, that if I can just be honest and talk to myself about it and say, like, it's okay. You got this. Let's move forward. Let's push forward. Then I can actually push through it. So anyway, that's the question for you to ask yourself. And I'm going to just rephrase it one more time. Question number 2, if you kept living exactly as you have in this past year, what's one thing you imagine you might regret when you look back at the end of your life? You can list more. I listed more. I definitely listed more. And actually answering that question gave me some clarity on going on another trip with my dad. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but he gave me inspiration. He's always wanted to go to Washington, D.C. I'm going to share it on this podcast because my parents don't listen to every episode, so I don't know. Maybe it's some accountability, but to have a time where I actually take him, he's 87, to Washington, D.C. He's been to all kinds of places in his life, but he's never been to Washington, D.C. It's like, come on, Dad. You got to go to Washington, D.C. I mean, Washington, D.C. is pretty amazing. Let's go, Dad. Let's go. We got to do it. And of course, if we did that, we definitely want to go visit Emerson in Boston as well, my daughter. Which, by the way, I do believe that has a lot to do with why I've been struggling the last 2 months, because she didn't come home this summer. She's 19. It's her first summer away. She did an internship in Uxbridge, Massachusetts. She stayed with a host family at a church. She's a ministry major at Gordon College. Go Gordon College, Scots. And she wanted to stay out there and do an internship practicum at a church. She's had a blast. But for me, I struggled with that. I definitely struggled with that, man. I mean, she's my only child, and I realized that I wanted to be around Emerson this summer. And we got to be around each other this summer. We did. We had some really good experiences this summer because we went on a trip together. But I didn't get as much time as I selfishly wanted, making it about me. That was me making it about me. But I got having a tough time breaking away from that. Just having a tough time, you people listening, breaking away from getting my identity from things that are not healthy. But these questions are going to help you, and they're helping me right now. So if you found this helpful so far, we are through the first 2 questions. Hold on, we got 2 more, but I do have something to share with you. It's called Shatterproof Yourself, 7 Steps to a Giant Leap in Your Self-Confidence. You can hit the link. You can go through this course. It has 17 whiteboards, 25 worksheets that I go through clients with, take them through and have for years and years. I explain how to take these 7 small steps to a giant leap in your self-confidence. It's going to help you go deeper on this content. If you found this helpful, hit the link, go through that content with a friend, with your family, with your team. You're going to find it helpful. Check it out. Hit the link below. So, third question, good one here. So this one is cool. I love it. The person I want to be in 5 years would do this. Finish the sentence. The person that I want to be, I can see Troy's mind just churning right now. The person I want to be in 5 years. So what do I want is a great question to ask yourself. Not selfishly, but what is inspired? What are you inspired to want? Inspiration means it comes from a spiritual source, in spirit. It's not information. Information is someone telling you what to do. It's sitting down with Adam and Adam saying, like, you should do this, this, and this. No, that's not what a good coach would do. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to rephrase what you tell me and what I hear as a good coach and help you go and take those steps next, moving forward. So what would that person do? The reason this question works is it gets specific. So go ahead and say, what age are you in 5 years? I'm age 57 in 5 years. My dad's age 92. My mom's age 84 in 5 years. My daughter's age 24 in 5 years. So what would this person do? And here's my honest answer here. I remember when I was married for 14 years, I had this scripture verse inscribed on my wedding ring. And it was, I believe, 1 Thessalonians something, but it basically was pray without ceasing. It was the verse. I don't even know the reference, but you might know. It was have an orientation towards life where you're mindful of God's presence in your life. And so the person I want to be in 5 years is more of that, to where I have the connection, like I'm not alone. Like there's a plan for me. It's good. There's good things ahead. So the person I want to be in 5 years is more generous and more curious than I am today. The person I will be in 5 years would do this. The person I would be in 5 years would feel that inspiration inside and then just take action on it. Whether it's a person that I have a conversation with that I wouldn't, because I feel inspired to do so. And one of the reasons this question also works is because it goes into the future and you can back out of it into today. Because what happens when you answer this question is you'll start realizing you can do some of these things today. That person you want to be in 5 years is the same person that's sitting in the chair or in the car or going on a walk or working out listening to this podcast. Can do the same stuff today, which is really inspiring because you can take some action on it. And everything in Decide Your Legacy, by the way, is in every question we ask, I wouldn't say every, but the goal is that we want it to be about personal and professional. We're not just these work people. We're not just isolated. We are a whole person. And it's also oriented towards action. And everything that we engage with clients on gives you some next step as you answer a question, as you move forward. And all of it as well is going to be about getting at the core. You can notice that these questions, they don't stay surface level. They're actually getting you to go and say, what about me can I work on to change, to decide my legacy, to have a bigger, better, brighter future, to do more of the good stuff and less of the bad, to know what I want to let go of and what I want to actually embrace. That's what we're talking about here, moving forward. So what are your answers? The person I want to be in 5 years would do this. Well, the person I want to be in 5 years would be less anxious, less self-centered. He would make it about impacting other people. He would let go of ego. He would flip, and this is one of those challenges here, like he would flip the arrow on money. I heard one of the speakers at the GLS talk about that what they found, this was Jim Collins talking, who wrote Good to Great. He wrote another book about what to make of a life, and he was talking about his book. And he said, and he studied these people at crossroads in their lives, at transitions in their lives. And one thing he noticed is they learned to flip the arrow on money, to make it that making money was a way that they could live out their purpose. Making money was not their purpose. So they were flipping the arrow on money. So it was much less about money and much more about having an impact. So I want that to be me, because I have made money an issue in my life. Not having enough of it at times, or even my emotional health is connected to whether or not I'm doing well financially or not. That's craziness, but true. And it comes out in my interactions with other people. I don't want that to be me in 5 years. I don't want that to be me in 5 hours, to be truthful with you. But I feel like it's been a struggle the last year. So that's it. That's the third question. So in the fourth question, and before I actually go into the fourth question, this fourth question right here is one that I have a worksheet on. It's called the If I Had More Self-Confidence worksheet. And these businesses that I reference, they all use this worksheet in these workshops that we give, these leadership team development workshops. I use it as a primer oftentimes before they go into an interaction with their team, because it opens them up to put themselves in a different mindset and headspace. And if this question resonates with you, number 4, which I haven't shared right now, I am going to look in your inbox and see there's going to be a workshop in the next 6 weeks, within the next 6 weeks, that it's going to be an hour or 90-minute workshop where I'm going to walk you through this worksheet, and you'll have access to this worksheet as well. And it'll be one where you can come in remotely, so it'll be over Zoom, but you can register for that and go through that if this is attractive content to you, especially this next question. So here's the question: is if I had 10 times more self-confidence. So what I want you to do is think about situations in your life where you have less self-confidence, specific situations that you're struggling with. And then ask yourself, if I had 10 times more self-confidence in this situation, because you lack it right now. So for me specifically, if I had 10 times more self-confidence going into one of these leadership team development meetings that we lead, how would I show up differently? So how would I And the real question is, what would others notice different about me if I had 10 times more self-confidence in that situation? So the reason that question works is because you're stepping back outside of yourself and becoming aware of how you would be perceived. Not that it's about their perception, but aware of how you would be seen differently. So you're able to zoom into your actions and you're able to look back and you're able to project that forward on what you would do differently. So it has that past, present, future orientation to it. And it can be personal or professional situations where you lack self-confidence. So you're going to answer that honestly. That's why it works. A neutral third-party perspective. Because what I find is often people that, and we can put our own mindset into that other person's perspective and step back with practice, but people that are less emotionally attached to our specific situation can give us good advice regarding what we should do next. And we're doing what, in this activity, we're doing what Steven Pressfield is one of my all-time favorite authors. Steven Pressfield, check him out. He wrote The War of Art, and he wrote one book I just listened to, Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be. I don't know if I can say that on the show, but that's the name of the book right there. Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be, Steven Pressfield. He wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance, and he wrote some fiction too that's really great stuff, but he's just great to listen to. He actually narrates all of his audiobooks. Love that. And he talks about his own failures and struggles, and he's in his 80s now, but he talks about self-reinforcement. Self-reinforcement is when we're talking to ourselves, giving ourselves reinforcement so that we can get through that hard situation. And that question provides you some things to tell yourself that will give you some self-reinforcement. Pretty cool stuff. So here's my answer. And this is the worksheet that I personally do the most, by the way. Personally do the most. So out of those 25 worksheets that I walk you through in Shatterproof Yourself, this is the one I actually do the most personally. I do them all because I have more than 25. I give you my 25 most popular, the ones I wanted to give and reference the most, but they're all in there for you if you want to go through it. Shatterproof Yourself. So here's my honest answer. If I had more self-confidence and I look at a specific situation, like, and this one is my career, okay? So people would notice me laughing and smiling more. They would notice me talking about the gains, not the gap, as much as I can, because some of my friends recently have heard me talk about the gap, how much further I want to go and how much farther I have to go. And thanks to Dan Sullivan of The Strategic Coach, I have this concept called the gap and the gain. You can check that out. Great book. I am a strategic coacher on my first year, and it's been really helpful for me. Very challenging. It's triggered a lot of stuff, but I'm going to thank him because he's a very inspiring coach. He's not a friend. He's just somebody that I reference, and his content is very helpful to me. But what I would do is they would notice me not making it about myself. They would definitely notice me doing things that are scary for me, more risks that I would take, which I am doing some, but I have noticed myself wanting to pull away and isolate and not take some of these risks that I know are really helpful and healthy for me. So that's what they would notice right there. So let's do question number 4 again. If I had self-confidence 10 times in a situation where I'm insecure, what would others notice about me? And on the worksheet, I have other ways to break that down. So you want to go ahead and we'll put a link in the show notes actually to RSVP for that workshop because it's going to be cool and it'll be open to, you can tell your friends this and that. We just got to get that worked out, Troy, so we can do that. But don't let me forget. All right. And we got some cool articles that we're going to reference as well. Have one, it's my 20 favorite questions to ask clients. It elaborates on some of these questions here, and there's 18 ways to build self-confidence. We'll link in the show notes to those blog posts as well, so you can reference those. So you got 4 questions. Again, be willing to answer honestly those 4 questions. I have gotten started in my own process, and these questions that I'm talking about, as I'm trying to figure out what's next in my life, I have just gotten started. I mean, like I shared with you my starting of answers here, but this is something I got to go back and explore. And I'm even thinking about contemplating right now going on a 2 or 3 day mini retreat just to journal and get away. And I haven't done that. I can't think of the last time I actually did that. It's been a lot of go, but it's going to take some still digging in here for me. I don't have all this figured out. I mean, I do not. I know that just answering these fairly briefly over the last couple of days, it has given me some inspiration, some clarity. It has tapped into my elephant some, but I want you to at least start with the one of those four that you like and answer it by the end of the day today. So by the end of the day today, answer that question in writing, in handwriting. Don't type it out, in handwriting. See this pen? This is called a pen. I want you to get one of these, and I want you to get a piece of paper. That's called a piece of paper right there, or a journal or something. And I want you to handwrite it, because psychologically it's going to go deeper as you actually handwrite it. Handwritten notes have an impact, and it's going to force you to realize that you can write faster than you probably think you can. And you can also get more clarity as you write it down, and go back and cross it out and edit it and look at it. And then you can type it out. You can type it out as a clarifying exercise, but start with some handwriting. So there you go. You got these 4 questions. You're being challenged to actually apply them. And I'll tell you that being honest with yourself is no easy task. Are you willing to take the next step and do it? Are you willing to answer these questions and to take some new action based on your answers? Only you can do it. So just kind of stepping back, summarizing here, decide your legacy. To decide means you're eliminating other options. Your legacy is the impact you want your life to have on other people. There's no positive change until you decide to make a change. 80% of making a long-term transformation, 80% is action, okay? It's not insight. You're gaining insight today. It's what you do with this insight that's actually going to make the change in your life. What insight have you gained? What are you going to apply based on what you learned today? Go back and listen to this podcast again if you want. Send it to your friends. Go out there. We're over 50,000 downloads, over 200 episodes. Share it. Give us a rating and review on Apple or Spotify. Help us to grow organically. I'm passionate about these 4 questions. I'm passionate about your growth and your success. And I want to close the way that I always do. Make it your mission to live the life today that you want to be remembered for 10 years after you're gone. You decide your legacy, nobody else. I'm very grateful for you. I appreciate you so much for sharing this podcast, for sharing this time with me, and I will see you on the next episode.